Hello and welcome to the Sharp Edge podcast, where we provide valuable insight and advice on the marketing and other business type questions that painting contractors encounter as they work towards achieving their goals. Now here's our hosts, Martin Morgan and Becca Hackley. Welcome to the Sharp Edge podcast, a podcast that's all about being the ultimate marketing and business resource for painting contractors. In this episode, we are going to take a deeper look at the other side of your paint roller, aka your customers, and what they're looking for when it comes to great customer service.
That's right, Becca. Customer service is so important. It should be no surprise that customer service can really make or break your reputation. People are always going to be talking about the services that they get, about the service providers, about things they buy, all of those things. Sometimes it's just a conversation with family and friends. Oftentimes, especially now with online reviews, or they might be using social media or apps like obviously Facebook, maybe Nextdoor. So it's always very important to take how you treat customers seriously. And there's one other really important thing to remember, which unfortunately we probably feel like as consumers, lots of businesses forget. And that is, if you don't have customers, you don't have a business. So customers are really the lifeblood of your business. And in a service like painting contracting, that is definitely the case.
Any type of business that has poor customer service, whether they're going to be there now, they're not going to be there for much longer is in my opinion, unless they have this fantastic product. But having that great customer service, it's not just that pretty little placeholder that you see on commercials or on things that you're going to put in advertising, like on Facebook. It's honestly something that you just can't fake. So it's kind of, you either have it or you need to start working on it. With customer service, so there's a big broad topics of what we're going to talk about, but today Martin and I will focus on 3 specific areas. So one is going to be just the everyday life of your painting business, or in other words, how you operate. And 2, we're going to cover employees, and then finally we'll hit on a walkthrough of the total experience after the paint job is done.
And when you think about how you operate and how that impacts your customers, that starts right from the very first opportunity that you have to talk to a customer. So when you think about that and what the customers expect, they expect you to be paying your full attention to them when you're having a conversation with them. They expect you to respond quickly. They expect you to respond. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in lots of home service type businesses that don't respond at all. And I think those are some of the key things from that first conversation on. We often forget the importance of that potential emotional connection, or at least the human connection. And if you have the chance to make that in that first phone call or discussion or even an email, there's multiple ways that you can do that. You've got to be thinking about that. How do I make that best first impression on a potential customer? And I think the thing that often comes throughout that entire relationship or within communications with a customer, 3 key things: responsive, being attentive, again, giving them your full attention. If you're not going to be capable of giving them your full attention, I think you let them know that and say, hey, I'm on a ladder right now. Can I call you back in half an hour? Can I call you back in 2 hours? I think the other thing that comes along with that, though, is keeping your promises. So if you say something like that, you also want to deliver, because the first time you make a promise to a customer, and you may not even think of it as a promise, you might just think of it as saying something to them, but to them that's a promise, and you've got to deliver on those promises. And I think just one more thing to think about when it comes to customer service is being helpful. If you can be helpful throughout the process, whether they become your customer or they don't, maybe their schedule is much more urgent than you're going to be able to deliver on because you're booked for the next 3 to 4 weeks and they're looking for somebody this weekend. If you're able to give them some guidance, or maybe suggest another painting contractor that could do the work for them, and that works out well for you, anything like that where you can be helpful, add a little value, again, a little bit more to that relationship, then that's going to be very helpful.
When you say how important it is to just be responsive and attentive, the whole following up on communication, whether that's right when you get the job or even if you don't get a job, like you said, like, oh, I'm on a ladder, can I call you back? That to me is probably one of the most beneficial things of customer service. So I have a girl that I always contact on Facebook when I want to get my hair cut. And she is so responsive, always accountable. And that is one of the reasons why I continuously go to her. And not only because I like my hair after she cuts it, but because her customer service is so on point. It's so responsive and so well done that she is going to be the one person that I would recommend to my friends.
And those types of experiences, Becca, they're the things that make a big difference. I know you use
Yes.
that as an example. I'll use a different industry, but I remember some years ago, I was driving home from work and hit something, and I was like, oh man, I think I'm getting a flat tire. So I tried to make a quick call to somebody, and the one shop couldn't help me. I was like, well, that kind of stinks. So I called another one and like, yeah, we can help you. Come on, bring it in. And I think I continued to bring my car to that shop for 3 years, for everything, just because I remembered when they helped me at that time where I really needed it. And when you're able to make those connections and be looked at as a go-to for somebody, then they're going to be a customer for you for a long time.
Well, and it just kind of puts you in the whole mindset of being comfortable. Like, as a painter, a painting contractor, you want to be a business that they trust in their home, or maybe their own business that you're painting. You're a professional service, and so you need to be able to let them kind of have their mind at ease too.
That's a really important point. I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because as painting contractors, you can often just take for granted what it means to go inside somebody's house and paint it because you're so used to it. But for somebody who,
home.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And for somebody who doesn't do that a lot, which is probably almost everybody, that's a big deal. Yeah, it's kind of an intimate space that they may not be used to having people in, and the thought of inviting strangers in there is just, it really makes them nervous. It's a stressful thing. So the quicker that you can build that rapport with them, and oftentimes, again, that comes through being responsive and attentive and helpful, you're building trust there, then it's going to much more likely to increase your odds of winning that business and having a customer perhaps for life.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it mostly, like being at the actual person's home, being there, painting, like just setting up yourself for success, meeting the expectations of your customer and being able to demonstrate that you take care of your customers. They are your priority. This is what you're here for. And you're not just here for the paycheck, but you're here for them and to give them a good service.
So very important. Setting expectations and living up to those expectations, just like continuing to deliver on your promises.
Beyond delivering expectations, just through the everyday work life of being a painting contractor, the next big piece of customer service is your actual employees. So the people that you work with, maybe your crew. So Martin, what is one thing a painting contractor should never assume when it comes to their crew?
Yeah, very important. Don't assume your employees know how to communicate well with customers, because that just may not be the case. And so you want to watch over that. You want to test that to the extent that you can. I think you want to try to test that before you allow an employee to go into somebody's home, especially if it's a new employee, so you don't know how they operate. You might be able to role play a little bit to see how that goes. If you don't have the chance to do that, or you just don't have a good way to do that, then you want to oversee and supervise the first opportunity where that might happen. Maybe that's just when you show up on the job site. You want to set the example. So maybe if you don't get the chance to do something like role playing, you can set the example by saying, yeah, we're going to be going to that new job site on Tuesday. I'm going to be there in the morning. I want you to pay attention to the way that I talk to the client. And here's what our expectations are as far as how that should go, how that should work. You want to continue to train them, and you want to coach them up. Give them some feedback. Let them know, and when they get a chance. More often than not, if you can, catch them doing good things, really encourage them when they do good things, and certainly to the extent that you can compliment them or give them praise in public, but give them any sort of negative feedback in private, then that's going to help you as well from a employee relations standpoint. And the key thing to remember, and it comes to you also as the owner, as the person running the show, is that every opportunity that you and your employees have contact with a customer or potential customer is an opportunity for you to either make a positive impression or a negative impression. So when you think about it that way, you want to make sure that you've got everybody in position and coached up and ready to make it a positive impression.
And your crew is going to react to you really well too, especially if how you hit on giving them compliments if they're doing something, they're doing a nice job, or if there maybe needs to be some critiquing of some sorts. Like, it's obviously best to do it kind of behind closed doors, not in front of the customers or even other crew members. And that's going to be a great opportunity for you and your employee to even build a relationship better together as well, because that will gain more trust between the both of you. And then it's a learning experience. I mean, anytime somebody takes you under their wing and is able to explain kind of like how you can improve, there's always just some sort of good rapport there. Not only is it important to train and model that type of behavior that you want to see, you need to do it day in and day out. I mean, whether that's you driving in your painting truck, van, whatever you have, how you're even treating your employees, like that's what the employees are going to see from you as a leader or an owner of the business. And so they're going to mimic you. So always keep in mind that people are watching, whether it's your employees or your customers. So you need to be able to lead well, because how they see that's going to be the exact way that they're going to act, especially when they're in a customer's home.
And that's a great point, Becca, because unfortunately too many business owners or CEOs, people that run organizations, they model behavior from the standpoint of do as I say and not as I do. And that just comes off terribly, because they're really setting the standard for how the organization runs. Anything that they do, pretty much just what you said, is saying, all right, this is how we operate, and I expect you guys to do that as well. So you definitely want to set the example. Remember, the microscope is on you at all times, and everything that you say holds more weight than almost anybody else that's there, and probably more than anybody else that's there in all times. So you really want to make sure that you're setting the tone for the behavior and the actions as far as how you expect customers to be treated. And then the customers, it's going to matter to them as well on the other side, which will be how they see you treating your employees. Because if they see you treating your employees poorly, they're just going to think that you think that people are disposable and that you shouldn't treat people with respect. And that's going to come off really poorly on you as well. So you really got to set the model. I know it's very difficult as a business leader to always keep your cool, to always respond the way that you should respond. And the expectation isn't that you're perfect, but that you're always mindful of the situation and that you're setting the tone for everybody else.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people take customer service for granted. It's something easy to claim, but if you don't have the actions to prove it, I mean, it's just not there, and it's going to come out some way or another. There's a lot of like easy tips that are just simply forgotten about, and we're going to hit on them. So, I mean, just come in with an open mind just to improve any customer interaction that you are going to have just today and all the way through the rest of the days of your business.
Yeah, one thing I would say along those lines is to be genuine. Care, and people are going to tell if you're just pretending. So you really want to try to build into yourself that real care that you have for people. So be genuine. Show people that you do care. Ask them how they're doing. Whether that's you're just coming to give a quote, or you're 4 days into a job that's going to be 5 weeks. Ask them how they're doing. Show genuine interest. There's always something special about people who do that for other people. And if you just consider interactions that you've had with people where somebody showed genuine interest to you, it always just makes you feel good. And if you can bring that to a customer with any interaction you have, that's going to really help your reputation for sure.
I'll be honest, there's some people who are just more of people persons, people, whatever the phrase is, what I'm trying to say. But I get that there's some people who like people more than others. And that's not a secret, and that's okay. But it's always kind of the golden rule, like treat others how you want to be treated. So asking your employees, investing in the customers, in the lives that are, in an appropriate way. Of course, there are some things that you can just kind of keep to yourself and be professional about. But I always think as an employee, like, I like engaging in conversation with those I work with. That's how you are able to get to know them, as well as your like clients, customers, whoever you're working with. You establish in a relationship. So then, let's say, for example, something happens, let's say, as a painting contractor, you're in someone's home and you spill paint on their carpet. Of course, that's oh snap, that's not good. I will do everything I can to recover from this. But if you have a good relationship from the very beginning with that customer, that little mistake, or maybe that big mistake, is going to go a lot better than if you didn't have a good relationship in the very beginning.
Yes, and it makes me think, Becca, about the emotional piggy bank that we talk about, of course, in our organization, which
Yes.
is that emotional piggy bank that you have with each individual in each one of your relationships, right? And the important thing is you want to keep making deposits into that emotional piggy bank, and all those positive interactions that you have with a customer or a potential customer or employees are positive deposits into that emotional piggy bank, because we're all going to mess up. So we're all going to do something wrong. We're all going to mess up. We're all going to not be our best self on a day, or maybe just make a mistake. And if you've made 20 deposits into the emotional piggy bank, and you have to withdraw 3, or maybe let's say 10 because you spilled paint all over somebody's carpet, it's going to be pretty easy to withdraw those 10 if you've deposited 20. But let's say you've only deposited 3 and you haven't taken the time to make a real connection with that customer, and you got to deposit those 10. Well, that's probably going to be a much bigger deal.
It's negative. I mean, you'll be in the negative. Think of it as a bank account. You don't have money, or you take out money you don't have. Sorry, buddy, you're in the red.
Yeah, that's a bad thing for sure.
Yeah. So one of the best qualities of a business owner is the fact that they like their own people. So they're going to value those relationships, and that just comes alongside, they're going to value the customer relationships as well.
Along those lines, another important tip that you can share with your employees would be to always confirm choices and the details with the customer. That might be paint choices, obviously color choices, time of the appointment, set the expectations. That that's in a pre-call just to confirm maybe when a job is going to be starting. That would definitely be in a daily work where you're changing something up, you're doing something a little bit different. But it always helps to check in with the customer. And those are the types of communications that that are never going to be a losing proposition. So just continue to check in with the customer from that standpoint. And then it will keep your business and your customers on the same page, which is critically important.
Yeah, and honestly, it's going to save you time in the end too. Because if you're calling to check with a customer like, hey, you want this moss oak gray color in your kitchen, and they're like, no, I wanted ruby red. Like, saves you money, saves you time, and you even look better because you checked in. So always check in. That's a really good point you made. But so looking at this customer service thing within your employees. So whether you are looking at yourself as the owner or your crew, or maybe you have a receptionist, so they all matter, you matter. And it's going to really come across in the way that you treat one another and how you guys treat your customers. I, for one, always remember how I'm treated, and it totally reflects on what kind of business that I'm dealing with. So the passionate customers, whether they're happy or maybe they're not so happy because you spilled paint on the carpet, they are going to write the reviews and they're going to tell their friends about just what kind of service that your painting business provided. Always make sure that what they're sharing is something that's not going to come back and just kind of bite you, because you don't want those words out there about you. You want positive, honest reviews out there. And the job is well done, but the customer isn't all that happy. I mean, they'll remember the poor customer service rather than a job well done. If that makes sense. Martin, you might have to help me out with how I worded that.
Oh, it's a good way to put it, and it is partially true in lots of cases because that customer service is that human interaction. So
Yes.
even let's say a paint job that would be a 10, but comes with a 2 customer service is going to be looked at much worse than a paint job that was a 7 but comes with a 10 customer service. You know, that makes such the difference. Somebody who's accommodating, helpful, flexible, responsive, all of those things that we mentioned earlier. And I think much to your point, it gets us to that third piece here that we are going to talk about, which is that walkthrough. That walkthrough at the end of the job is really your last opportunity to connect with the customer, to solidify that relationship, and to leave on a strong note. So, you know, sometimes you might see that as, oh gosh, you know, we got to do this walkthrough with the customer. Maybe because you're worried that they might point something out or not. But really, that's a huge opportunity. And as you take them through your office or their office or home, you want to slowly take them through, hit those connection points again that came along at from that first contact or may have come along as you were working on the job. Allow them to ask questions if they have any, you know, cover anything that may have come up during the course of it. And certainly if they're the type of customer that's fairly quiet, you could certainly politely ask them questions, ask them if they're happy with the job, if there's anything else that you could do for them. If they're thinking they might need some other type of service that you offer, you don't want to be pushy or salesy or anything like that. But if you feel good about the work, and if you feel like they're giving you pretty good vibes about the work, then you can certainly ask for something more beyond that. Because again, this is really your opportunity. If it was a job well done, if you've gone above and beyond to make a good connection, to offer that excellent customer service, then, you know, take advantage of this last opportunity to be with them.
This is another opportunity to just kind of put into that emotional piggy bank too, especially if you're genuine about it, which I think most painting contractors are very passionate about the work that they do. I mean, they see it as I mean, it's an art. It really is. I mean, I'm not that great at painting. Trust me, I understand that it takes a professional. So the amount of hard work and time and skill that goes into being a painting contractor, I mean, use this walkthrough as like your opportunity to kind of um, share share with the customer like what you did. Maybe they have a really unique space where you had to do different angles of some sort, or hey, maybe it was a square bedroom. Even that takes skill too. You didn't hit the ceiling, did you? But take that time to just ask them, if they're happy with the job. Is there anything that you could do further? And then that kind of leaves you with the space to wiggle in of, hey, would you mind leaving me a review? Or if you have any family or friends in the neighborhood or anything that need work done, I mean, I really enjoyed working with you. I'm sure I would enjoy working with them. It always needs to be done like in a tactful way, of course, not like the salesy thing that Martin was talking about. But if you can do that carefully and tactfully, I think that's a great opportunity in the walkthrough to ask for a review or maybe even a referral.
It's definitely a great opportunity from that standpoint. And I think another thing to note is this is also an opportunity, and you mentioned feedback, Becca. This is an opportunity to potentially catch that bad review before it happens. So if things haven't quite gone as planned, or if you're a little bit worried about that, you're probably going to be better off addressing it at this time period, or talking through what issue might come up, or if you're caught off guard and somebody says they're not happy about something, this gives you a chance to really take care of that before, unbeknownst to you, all of a sudden you leave thinking it was a job well done, and then 3 days later you find out on your Google My Business that the customer gave you a bad review, and it surprises you. So you do want to ask for that feedback and address those things, because if there's a mistake or something did happen, you have to look at that as an opportunity to make something right, or an opportunity to make a customer happy when something didn't go wrong. Because just like we said, we remember those service providers who go above and beyond, or who we know we can count on, or who were there for us at a time where we were stressed. We also often remember those who made good when something didn't go as well as we would have expected. And then they go above and beyond to take care of that issue. And that just shows us that they care very much about that customer service, as we've been talking about here. And I know almost all of the painting contractors that I've met and talked to, and had a good chance to meet many of them, and always enjoy the conversation. They're just very passionate about the business, and I know that's almost definitely true for you if you're listening to this. And when you show that passion through your work, through these conversations, that really comes through, and that's going to encourage your customers to call you the next time that they have some sort of job that you can do, and that's critically important. So I think you want to remember that. Don't be afraid to show that. Don't be afraid to make good on things when they don't go as well as you may have liked. But that customer experience is critically important, because people will continue to talk about that. They'll talk about the work that you did, but probably more likely they're going to talk about how you made them feel, whether you made a connection with them. And if you did, they're going to pass the word on to their neighbors, to their friends, to their family. So you want to make sure that throughout the entire process that you're really making the most impressive customer service connection that you can.
Yes, make it a moment to remember. That's what I always like to think of customer service. Whenever somebody thinks back, don't even think about the service, think about the customer service. That's what's going to get you a review and a referral, I'm telling you. But just to bring this all full circle, so we really hit on just everyday life of the painting business, or like kind of how you operate. And then we touched on the importance of how you treat employees and how employees treat customers. And then finally, we hit on the walkthrough experience with the customers. Please take all these three things very seriously. I mean, this can help make or break your business. I mean, customer service, it really can't just be a pretty placeholder in an advertisement. It needs to be a promise and a commitment that you're going to make to your customers, because that's going to be the reason why customers keep coming back to you.
Thank you for listening to the Sharp Edge podcast. If you want more information about this, please visit propainterwebsites.com and head to our resource center. We plan on hosting a podcast each month, so subscribe. You won't want to miss out. Also, we just have one last favor to ask of you. It would mean a lot to us if you would share this with your friends or other painting contractors. Our goal is to help you succeed, so you can help us achieve this goal by telling someone else about the show. Thanks again and have a great day.